It's now more than 2 years since we launched the Construction Productivity Roadmap. We set ourselves a target of raising construction productivity by up to 3% every year to 2020. DPM and Finance Minister earlier announced that the government would proceed to cut the man-year entitlement quota for new projects by another 15% in July this year, bringing the cumulative reduction since 2010 to 45%, as announced last year. This effectively means that while previously a project may be allocated 100 workers, a new project of the same scale starting from July would only be granted 55 workers. The 45% reduction in MYE is necessary because in the past 5 years, the built environment sector has on average accounted for more than half the annual foreign worker growth for the entire economy. The sector's share of foreign workers has been disproportionately large. We must try to rein in this growth. We must do things differently. Fortunately, for the next few years, we foresee a healthy demand for the built environment sector such that our restructuring efforts can take place in a relatively favorable environment. But we must be careful not to allow the tight labor market affect the timely delivery and the quality of our key public projects, including the ongoing and new BTO flats construction and accelerated MRT line construction works. The next 3 years are therefore a crucial transition period for the built environment sector. Our firms will have to adapt to the tightened labor supply while seizing all opportunities to mechanize, automate, and streamline workflow for higher productivity. This is my key message. This is why we have further differentiated the 2 tiers of construction levy. The first tier remains unchanged at $300 for higher skilled workers employed within the MYE quota. This is so that skilled and experienced workers can continue to be retained and upskilled. The second tier has been raised to $1050 for basic skilled workers hired beyond the MYE quota. This is meant to serve as a safety valve, if you like, so that firms could still have access to workers beyond their man-year entitlement, but at a cost that will encourage them to switch to more efficient construction technologies and processes. How can we then in the next 3 years make a paradigm shift to a more efficient industry structure, one that is more professional, better integrated, and lean on manpower? Already, we have a number of most progressive main contractors such as Warhop and Tiong Seng Contractors, which plan, organize, and carry out most of the work themselves. They don't rely on multi-layers of subcontractors to deliver projects. Their hands-on approach gives them clear visibility of project management, work coordination, and workforce productivity. The question is, how can we encourage more local firms to emulate these progressive contractors so that as an industry we can progress to the next level? Talking to the industry, I know many of our firms felt overwhelmed by the simultaneous reduction in MYE and levy increases. But we must also be acutely aware that the labor-driven growth model in the industry has to change. With these challenges, my ministry, together with BCA and other agencies, will intensify our dialogue with our industry partners to transit to a more efficient and sustainable industry model. One way for us to transit successfully is to beef up our resources to help firms adopt productive methods and technologies. For a start, we are enhancing the 250 million Construction Productivity and Capability Fund, or CPC Fund, in 3 ways. First, we will increase our co-funding level from the current 50% to 70% under the Mechanization Credit, or MEC-C scheme, for equipment that can achieve at least 30% productivity improvement. This will help firms lower the cost of acquiring or leasing equipment. With permission, Madam Chair, I'd like to display some photos on the screen. For example, to smoothen a concrete floor, a contractor has two choices. He can use a mechanized concrete power roller operated by one worker, or the traditional manual method, which requires at least two workers to complete the same amount of work. The mechanized thrower typically costs $3,000. Under the enhanced Maxi scheme, plus more funding under the PIC credit, the final cost to the contractor is less than $300 for a 50% improvement in productivity. In fact, the contractor will also save on wage, levy, and accommodation costs by deploying fewer workers on site. Second, we are raising the support level for the Productivity Improvement Project, or PIP scheme, from 50% to 70% to encourage the re-engineering of work processes to achieve at least 30% higher productivity. In addition, the cap for firm-level projects will be raised from 100,000 to 300,000, and at the industry level, projects gaining 40% productivity improvement and are game-changing can enjoy PIP funding of up to $5 million. Third, we will launch a new Maxi referral scheme to incentivize main contractors to refer their subcontractors to CPC programs. This, we hope, will accelerate the proliferation of technology use among smaller firms. To date, we have committed 85 million of the 250 million CPC funding, benefiting some 2,300 individual firms, of which more than 80% are small firms. More, however, can be done. We are thus working with the industry associations to regular productivity clinics to reach out to more firms. Let me now talk about another impetus for significant productivity improvement: buildability and constructability of our building projects. To encourage the various stakeholders to come together early for upstream coordination and integration, we will raise the buildability and constructability scores progressively for new projects submitted for planning approval from July 2013 and July 2014. By raising the buildability score, architects and engineers will need to deliver easy-to-construct design and technologies. An example is the use of prefabricated bathroom units, or PBUs as it is called. Constructing the conventional bathroom on-site involves 13 different tasks, from plumbing to plastering to tiling. For PBUs, all these tasks can be done more efficiently off-site. Completed PBUs are then transported to the work site and hoisted up for installation. With such a method, contractors can cut down the number of on-site workers from 20 to 5 and install the PBUs twice as fast. At the construction stage, contractors will have to make use of more manpower-saving construction methods to meet the higher minimum constructability scores. For instance, climbing scaffolds, which can mechanically be lifted to the next floor, only require 4 workers to install, compared to the traditional scaffold system, which requires 6 workers. To support the adoption of higher buildability and constructability scores, the public sector will take the lead. Our government procurement entities with new projects will adopt standards higher than the minimum standard starting later this year to lead the way of change. In addition, from July this year, consultants and contractors with high buildability and constructability scores records respectively can score higher in the quality component of their tender bids, giving them an edge over other bids. Under our tender evaluation framework, it does not necessarily mean that bids with the lowest price will always win the tender. For private developers who are a key part of the construction value chain, we are exploring for new government land sales for private and industrial developments to specify a new requirement for higher buildability and constructability scores. We are also considering making productivity requirements a prerequisite for existing bonus GFA schemes. BCA and URA will share more with the industry in the coming months. I agree with Dr. Teo Ho Pin that we must continuously raise the skills of our construction workforce. Today, all foreign construction workers typically undergo 3 to 4 months of full-time training and have to pass a 1-hour theory test and a 4 to 5 hours practical test in specific construction trades conducted by BCA officers in the source countries. They will then qualify as basic skilled construction workers. There are no unskilled construction foreign workers as such. Given the large numbers involved, it is more practical to train and test these workers overseas before they enter Singapore. But I agree with Dr. Teo that we should find ways to raise the skill standards of construction workers before and after they have joined us. To retain skilled foreign construction workers, we use the tiered levy framework that accords higher skilled workers with lower levy and a longer period of employment. Starting this year, these workers are required to undergo continual education and training, CET, every 2 years. My ministry has also received feedback on how the impending cuts to the S-Pass sub-dependency ratio quota in the services sector would adversely affect the engineering, architectural, project management, and quantity surveying consultancy firms, which are all part of the built environmental sector in the process of restructuring. We heard you. As we reduce demand for foreign workers, we will work with the industry to stabilize unproductive churns of skilled workers while attracting more Singaporeans to join the sector. BCA will continue to enhance its comprehensive suite of manpower development programs, including scholarships, sponsorships, and apprenticeships at the university, polytechnic, and ITE levels to build the local talent pipeline. For mid-career and mature job seekers, BCA offer workforce training and upgrading programs to train them for the industry. M&D and BCA will work with MOM to explore measures to mitigate the impact of the tightening S-Pass policies. In the long term, we want a strong core of highly skilled professionals, managers and executives, and technicians and associate professionals to form the backbone of our built environment sector. Madam Chair, let me now address Mr. Zainal Sapari's suggestion of a tripartite cluster of the landscape industry to raise productivity and workers' wages. In fact, the National Parks Board currently chairs the Singapore Landscape Industry Council, which serves a very similar purpose as a tripartite cluster proposed. The Council has helped raise professionalism of the landscape workers by developing, validating, and endorsing training and curriculum content for the landscape industry, including those for WSQ certification with industry-wide participation. Madam Chair, we understand that our built environment sector is under severe pressures of manpower crunch and rising costs. But we also know that unconstrained growth of foreign workers cannot be sustainable too. We must therefore give up the old ways of doing things, and we must innovate. In helping the industry evolve to a new industry structure, BCA will help look for other new resources needed. For instance, BCA will set aside more land for the production and storage of precast, prefabricated components, heavy equipment, and machinery. BCA has successfully launched the first integrated construction and precast hub at Kaki Phuket. We aim to build more of such hubs in future to support the industry's restructuring. Madam Chair, let me call on all stakeholders again to work together to help industry restructure. We need to quicken the pace of change. We need a successful transition. Thank you.